And so
Awesome,
I
man.
think we should probably just dive in. I think everyone right now is there's the speed of AI news, but there's the speed of AI apps that are coming out, and then there's the speed at which you can execute. And there's a pretty big gap between the speed of AI news, which seems to be like every single hour,
Yeah.
the speed of new AI apps, which is every day, but then you're making your app and it's still taking you a couple weeks, couple months to get something out the door. I think a
Yeah.
lot of builders just want to get things out in a matter of a couple hours or a couple of days.
Yeah. That's right.
So I think you had a list of a couple of questions, right? And that first one was pretty good. What was it?
Yeah, man. I want to walk through your origin story first. So it's a little bit about, I know you use cloud AI a lot in your process. So here's a question. Tell me about the React component that made you go, holy shit, cloud can do this. Walk us through that moment for all of our friends.
This one deserves a demo in its own right. So I'm just going to start
All
sharing
right.
the
Oh,
screen.
hell yeah.
So
Let's
yeah,
go.
let's dive right into it. So what we see on the screen right now is you see one of the big themes right now is everyone is trying to ship a directory. And I wanted to just know like how fast would it be to ship one of these out? This
Oh,
is
yeah.
entirely with Claude. And what I love about it is that I can come in here. Now, granted, like some things are missing, like I'm typing, you can't necessarily see that, but I've been in the industry for a while, and I know that when I was working in the industry, there would be a team of four people just trying to get this base level thing out the door. And they would probably spend 2 weeks, talking about all the components that are required, figuring out how to do all the spacing, getting the CSS just right. And I got this in 60 seconds.
Right. And you didn't even use Figma. You went straight in and you built this. And the AI handled all of the UI componenting. It handled all of the CSS. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. All I have to do now the thing is everything is just a matter of how well you can word things. And the dirty secret is that the more you know some of the key language in engineering, the more you can do some of this stuff. Like what you see on the screen, I know a lot of people when they're prompting with Claude, they might spend hours and hours trying to get something that looks good. We got this. We did this 5 minutes before the call. We got this done within two shots. The first shot, we got everything we wanted. The second shot, we're just trying to refine a couple things, and that's ultimately where we see like where the challenges are. Like it's like, okay, these are filters right here. I can't necessarily see them. If I was to go back and I just wanted to make sure that I could fix this on the first try, I would just make sure that I would have accessibility as a main concern because this is technically an accessibility violation. We have text on the screen that can't be read. Now, a lot of people who are just beginning prompting, they wouldn't know that, but stay tuned all the way to the end because you're going to see the prompt template that can just zero shot a lot of this stuff for you. Um, and you'll be able to make stuff like this pretty much out of the box with Claude.
And that's absolutely crazy. You had me before this call walking through the workflow, and I want you to walk through everyone what your workflow actually looks like. So, tell me how do you use cloud actually to build something like this? And I want like the messiest version possible, like one like indie hacker, build in public type of guy is just going to go in and start doing this right after watching this podcast.
Yeah, so here's the thing. In engineering, we always had this quote: premature optimization is the root of all evil. And this is really important because I'm going to show you Claude. This is Claude out of the box. All I said is make me Quora for nurses. And when we take a look at what we have right here, this is pretty good. I can upvote out of the box. Like we zero shot this. And there's no style, there's no system prompt here. This is not part of a project. I literally got this out of the box. Uh, and it just works, which is pretty amazing. So the first thing I'm always going to do is I'm going to start with what can I get out of the box? And usually what I'll also do is I keep the Claude app on my phone. And what I do is the second I have an idea, I start on my phone. And then, like, I can be midstream in a conversation, 2 minutes on a subway platform, and I have an idea. I need one, two, three, four, 5 words to get this whole thing. And this gets done in 60 seconds. So if I'm waiting, like, if I'm waiting for the L train, I can, you know, I think like 8 minutes, I could probably produce 4 apps in that amount of time.
No,
Which is
that's crazy.
yeah, which is it's really cool. So always start here, and then and then give it a little bit of space to breathe, and then and then is the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to compare it with using an actual style. So you're going to see at the bottom here, I have a bunch of styles. There's a bunch that come out of the box. There's normal, concise, explanatory, formal. But then I have some that I use for my personal usage. Personally, what I like to do is AI is really great at making React components out of the box. Whenever I'm making a dummy page that doesn't have any complex state requirements, doesn't have any complex logic, I always go with React. In the event that I'm trying to keep track of things, if my application logic I know is going to be a little more complex, I'll use Vue instead. And rather than have good design, I'll have bare bones Vue. And the reason behind that is that, this is a developer secret. React is not reactive. And what that means for computer programming is when I click these buttons, notice nothing is happening. So that would be a reactive behavior. I made a change, and did this change get pushed? Now, of course, React does have its capability to do it. It's just that that capability comes at the cost of a lot of application complexity, which then causes a lot of errors, causes way too much downstream iteration, which is why I see a lot of people who they will start they'll start with the prompt, and then they'll end up prompting for 90 minutes just trying to see how good the output they can get is. Whereas my shortcut is, if I know it's like, if it's something that's dummy and I need to get it out fast out the door, I want to get it out in 10 minutes, I made this very special React Pro guide. I'll give everyone the template for this one just because, like, the alpha for me is in so many other places, but I'll use this little thing right here. And what's unique you know, in a colors basis, if I'm just showing this to a random customer, usually I think people are going to go with this because it has colors, it has, better spacing. But for me personally, this nails the core design, but this one nails landing with the application. And the reason why is we can even take a look here. The specialty based filtering that is going to be available inside of here. And we see emergency nurses, ICU nurses. I know that that is going to get the attention. That speaks the language of the customer. Whenever you can speak the language of the customer, you speed up the deal cycle. The same way that you can do few shot prompting or zero shot prompting. For my personal relationships and for my business meetings, I want to see, can I zero shot a business meeting? I don't want a sales cycle to take 37 days if I think it can take 21 days if I'm just prepared or I speak better language. Um, there's a lot of hidden alpha there. And so we also know here, this one is also, fully designed for mobile. I wish I had the capability to move this in and out so that we could see it in play, but I know that this one is going to be optimized for mobile. I can inspect the code itself. I see specialty badges. I see evidence-based content indicators, which I know this market. This market loves evidence-based things, all things with credentials. They see that, and then for them, the cognitive load drops. And that's the secret. So with users, anyone can come into your app, but whether they know what to do or not, or whether they're mentally primed for it is based on two things. And it's associated with cognitive load, which is how hard is my brain working? When you watch an Instagram reel and someone's giving medical advice and they're a pretty person, you're going to question them because you're like, you're a pretty person. Why am I going to listen to you? Like, yeah, you look healthy, but like I still don't know. If that person is not a pretty person, but they're wearing a white coat, your cognitive load drops. They can start using all these mumbo jumbo words. All your eyes want to see is the visual feedback. I've been trained since I was a baby to trust that person. I'm not going to question it. Number two is when we read, and if I see words I recognize, words that have meaning for relationships, also keep in mind that's how language models work. That's why this is so good at doing that. So when I have the right language in there and I show this to my doctor friends, I know my doctor friends are gonna be like, yep, I like seeing that small nuance. It helps them. And these are the earned secrets that you get from shipping, 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 and just always getting things out to customers like multiple times a day.
Right. And I want to ask a follow-up to that. So again, you put in Quora for Nurse's platform, but that doesn't mean that the best app to create here is an exact copy of Quora. And so you walk through the nuances right there of like, how can we uh, choose Quora as like a base template to get us the structure and the foundation? But then how can Cloud help you actually add nuance and make it more targeted to that specific user type? That's what you walk through, right?
Exactly. And you have that exactly right. And then I think there's a follow-up question on here, which is like, all right, we have this, but what's next? And what's unique about this one is that, okay, we just zero shot both of these, but how do I take it to the next level? This is the most non-obvious thing you can do. If I was to come back here and grab this code, I'll just copy the contents and I'll say compare and contrast this. My audience are recent grad nurses who need guidance. This is all I'm going to say. But the fact that so one of the best things that language models are doing is processing large amounts of data. And so now this is going to do a quick analysis and say, okay, this one is simpler, it's more focused. It thinks it's going to reduce cognitive load. Now, this is where I would disagree. So sometimes you need to know where to have your tacit wisdom, and you kind of want to start to refine that by reading some of these answers. So doing that compare and contrast helps me then be like, no, 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 you're going to keep this feature because I like it. It includes a working answer functionality out of the box, which it's recognizing that has more approachable usernames versus formal credentials, has immediate voting feedback. Um, my version was overly formal. And so now sometimes what'll happen, keep this in mind, when you're prompting a model, the newest context gets weighted more than it needs to. Even though I have a good prompt that this is going based on, I'm like, I'm gonna say the non-obvious thing is that our tastemaker is the nurse who communicates regularly with a sec board. We want professional. We want to attract mentors to the platform. So even though I know all the tiny nuances that I like, I'm just gonna say this real quick, like tell it who the tastemaker is gonna be, and give it an idea of who the audience is, and you'll be surprised with what it comes with out of the box. Now we're watching this in real time. One of my favorite things is I love having Claude run while I have conversations happening because ultimately it's not a matter of getting to working software just yet. It's a matter of getting to the conversation pieces. We're like, what are the things we like? What are the things we don't like? But there's a lot of things I'm already seeing that I do like, and things of like, it looks like code that I would write. And so I really like that. Um, and
Yeah,
now take a look at this. We just got these verification badges. We got this
yeah,
research backed badge. Um, we got, we still have the upvoting feature, which I like. We still have
correct.
a lot of this stuff. A lot of stuff is crammed in here. I
Yeah,
wonder, I wonder what this is going to look like. Now, here's the next thing. Small nuance. The call to action changed.
yeah,
Did you see that?
uh, yeah, that's right.
So I'll pause real quick because I could talk about this for days.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, it's amazing. We just saw that live happening in front of us, and now you could call it the third iteration, which combines literally kind of the best of all those worlds that we just created. And what I loved is that it created something that you said you would have actually coded, and you would have actually worked with the rest of a team to put and get to this level, right? So that for me is like taking me into the segue into the next question is okay. Um, what I want to know is when you went from building like one component at a time to building kind of entire features with cloud, what started changing in your approach? What did you notice would break, and what did you have to go back and kind of fix again and again?
Yeah, so the great example of this is going to be diving into the code itself. One of the big things we see here and why I like this code is that it's separating concerns out. So we see that there's a constant variable called vote controls here. Then we see another one for answer section. And this block is what, 15 lines of code. This is probably just south of 30 lines of code. This little component is under 20 lines of code right here. That's number three. We see number four right here, which is about 30 lines of code right here. So now that's four components. And then we see a constant variable, which is just a piece of data that's going to be hydrating the view itself. And I really like the structure that's inside of here. This data structure works. This data structure also has a lot of things out of the box, which is how this would be written. So gives me really strong confidence that I can just grab this and then I would probably take this and I would drop it into Bolt. I would drop it into V0 or I would drop it into Replit and have that continue the job after this. And so really my AI augmented workflow starts in Claude where I'm just thinking about my users. I'm thinking about my taste palette and I'm just educating myself and I'm questioning myself and I'm trying different things. And then once I see something and I'm like, ooh, this feels yummy, I'm going to grab good code, which I get from this prompt template, which again, I'll share. And I'll just throw that over to V0 and I'll throw it over the wall, and then something amazing is going to come out on the other side. And then if I was to take a look, compare that to compare that to this other component where I have 200 lines of code inside of one component, which is totally fine because 200 lines of code, like I have enough experience, I know just how to read it. Um, and data structure is totally fine inside of here, but then this is where things get hairy. This is application logic. And this is one of the big reasons why I don't like React. And one of the reasons I don't like React is that take a look, this is a lot of control flow. Every application is really just two things. Does not matter the programming language, doesn't matter if it's an app on your phone, app on the computer, or an app, in the terminal, like the shell commands. Every app has two things. There's data and there's behavior. For data, we have data structures. So this is how we structure data so that I can easily work with it to find it or to update it. Number two is, all right, I have data, but now how do I, in there's something called a control structure. Can I loop over the data and make a table? So we're looping over a list multiple times, we're mapping over it, and then boom, we have this code. So that's control flow. Or this is a filter. So it's going to say, oh, if it is full time, if it is remote only, if it is a combination of these things, then I'm going to show it. That's conditional logic. And so in our control structures, we have very complex if statements. And that's one of the things that really bothers me because then I'm like, down the line, when I go to keep editing this, I know very likely a bug is going to pop up here. And I'm like, why would I want to deal with that? And so usually what I'll do is once I have something good in React, I'll convert it over to Vue, which can manage state a lot better, which also um, doesn't have much configuration either. Like a lot of things are configured really well out of the box. One of the things right now is that every app you're making is going to be it's going to use shadcn for the component library, which like it's a component library made for JavaScript. It's going to use React. It's going to use TypeScript, and then it's going to use Tailwind for styling. Now, one of the big issues there is stringing the application up later on. A lot of things are going to break downstream, especially with TypeScript. Like a lot of things are just going to kind of break with Vue and Vite. I know that none of that stuff is ever going to break. So the issue with the Vue ecosystem is just getting to something good like this on the first try. But very few people know that you can bring all your React components into Vue. So essentially, I'm going to get great design nearly for free, maybe 20 bucks a month, because that's what I pay for Claude Pro. And then I will then, for the downstream of like getting this into the hands of customers and doing that in a matter of 5, 10 minutes rather than a couple hours, couple days, couple weeks, I'll use the Vue ecosystem for that. And that's one of my big secrets.
This is incredible, man. I know a lot of people are waiting on looking at that prompt and getting access to that. So let me get to the money question. If someone opened Cloud right now after watching this video and they want to build their first React component, what is the exact prompt that would absolutely blow their minds?
So the first thing that you want to do is just take a look at your Chrome history, right? Like I see school is right here. So come over to Claude and just out of the box say, build the uh, dummy clone of school. That's all I'm going to say. Not even going to spell it right.
No, with all the typos in there. Crazy.
Right? Yeah, leave the typos in there
Yeah,
and you'll see what comes out of the box. And I mean
right
like
there. It's building right before your eyes.
yeah,
In
it's
a
pretty
matter of
wild to watch this.
15 seconds, it's going to take almost.
And so now we'll combine this with something that'll really shock everyone.
All
So
right.
boom, here we
Wow.
go.
Look at that.
Like
Wow.
this this is I mean, I'm really impressed with this.
Yeah,
And isn't that why I'm so impressed is like it just works. It just
yeah,
makes sense.
that's right.
Um, so I really like that. So the prompt that'll really blow everyone away is go to a website you like. And then when you get to a website you like, right? So here, we'll do something a little bit meta. I'm going to
Okay.
take a screen so you can write in Firefox, right click, take screenshot. And so what I'll do is I can just do save visible or I can do the whole page. So I'll do the whole page. And then what I love about Firefox, I can just copy that. Now I'll do a base Claude template. I'll say, make me this. 3 words. I think I wanted Claude to recognize that it was inside of itself, but I don't.
Right.
I think it missed the plot, which is totally fine.
Sure. Yeah.
At least we see a limitation here, and that
Yeah.
limitation is like it sometimes is going to try to make the best call for you, and I'm just gonna be like, and so now here I'll say no, make me a chat interface that produces code artifacts. So literally Claude,
Yeah.
and we'll see if it can make that.
Asking it to create itself.
Yeah, which is like that'll be pretty nuts.
Yeah.
And we see this is just kind of going and going and going, and I love just watching this go. It's like
Yeah.
the new Energizer Bunny.
Oh, yes.
All right, and we see that there's a lot of limitations in the styling. Nothing's ever going to be perfect, but it's going to keep coming up with more and more stuff. And so find websites you like, take a screenshot, and start to see like how close you can get to it. So I see this one right here. I think all the builders are going to like this service. This service called
Okay.
Mail Reef. And
All right.
for anyone who is planning to do any type of cold emailing and you need to handle doing it at scale, um, it's a solution that, it's a solution you probably want to take a look into. I'm not going to sit there and sell because I don't make any money off of this.
Yeah.
What I'll do is I'll just take the full page again and just run experiments, which is like, how close can I get to making the thing?
Right. And this is just a simple website. This is, simple HTML, CSS, and a little bit of JavaScript.
Exactly. It's just exactly super simple website, but simple's all you need. I'll
Yep.
say, make me this. And then what I'll also do is I'm just going to turn off my special prompt just so that we can see what comes out of the box. Because sometimes you're going to notice that the frontier model might outperform even when you have context. Even when you try to train it a little bit, it might just be better on its own out of the box,
Right.
which I find to be fascinating.
Right.
All right, and it looks like there's just a slight issue here on getting that image in. So I'm just gonna, oh, image is too large. That's why.
Hmm.
So what I'll do is I'm just gonna take a screenshot again, and then I'll just get the visible page this time. Because I guess
Okay.
maybe you know how some of those pages infinite scroll.
Yeah, I have to use like a Chrome plugin, a screen capture, but you introduced me back into Firefox. So yeah, this is what I'm going to start using.
Yeah, that's the other dirty secret. I stopped using Chrome a while ago just because the
Yeah.
in performance. Keep in mind, like I'm doing all this on like 2017, 2018 MacBook. Um,
Right.
Nothing that is recommended hardware, but just ship
Right.
it. Things out the door. See how far you can push what you already have. There's a lot of apps that I make fully on my phone now. You want
Wow.
to see how far can I get on my own? How far can I get in 5, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
What's the non-obvious thing that I'm not doing? Now look, all right, this is far from perfect, but holy crap. I can just throw this off. I can throw this over the wire to a developer and they can just kind of figure it out a lot faster now, which I
Yeah.
find to be pretty incredible.
Oh yeah.
And just take a look,
Yeah.
like we just took a screenshot of their page. This is such a nice little benefit to have.
Right.
These little things, and then I can keep
That's
playing with
right.
this.
That's
Um,
right.
and then the next thing I'll do is I'll grab this code. And now for you'll see this. This is a great segue for episode 2, but let's just come grab this code real quick. We're also at the point where my laptop is just like going bonkers right now. Look, and is running.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna try to click on code. Let's see if I can access said code. And yeah, it's at a point where even like I'm hovering over and you see it takes a while. I'll come over to
Correct.
V0. V0 can actually write really decent backend server code. That is A lot of people don't realize that. But what I'll do
Right.
is grab this and I'm just going to throw it over the wall.
All right.
And so I'm going to hit new chat. This is going to take 10 seconds because my computer is just going crazy right now.
Sure. Oh yeah. I design and develop in Webflow. I'm a certified Webflow partner, and it
Oh,
takes
wow.
me from 4 to 6 hours if I have all the assets there, but it could be up to 8 to 10 hours to at least, get a full page done. And you're doing this in record time compared to what I'm spending on that. So I could be saving a lot of hours on my own business, just, teleporting this and offshoring it in this way and using this process.
Exactly. And you see like that's the whole mindset behind just ship it. And even the prompt that this was I just grabbed the code from Claude and then the
Yeah.
prompt, I didn't do any fancy prompt engineering here. I said just get this over the finish line. And so if you were to be intentional with anything, I would be intentional with two things. I would be intentional with how I prompt and just like
Okay.
prompting as much as I can, getting a lot of repetitions on prompting. I would make my own gym of prompting. Um,
Right.
Next thing that I would do, and also notice this is a React-based error. An error
Okay.
occurred in the server components render. Server components, like I understand why they needed to be created. I just don't like the process in which they were created. We won't get into
Right.
that because again, that all this stuff is things that business stakeholders don't care about. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, this looks good.
All right.
I like this. Um, and I'm sure this has an animation. This is still loading, but I like this. And now it got quite a few things right. It fixed things a little bit. Now I know I can just keep going, but
Right.
this is a company which is working with some of the biggest companies in the world, and we just recreated their website with an image and
Yeah.
one prompt in Claude, and then popped it over to V0, and we got pretty damn close. I know that if I spent a little bit longer on this, I could then just make a competing service, and this is the thing that's probably keeping up every SaaS business at night right now.
That's right.
Um, So now I guess the final thing here is going to be what is the prompt that is being used to hydrate all of this stuff? And
Yep.
so I'll just
The
come into my
golden
styles.
question.
So I like using styles a lot.
Okay.
Inside of Claude, I know a lot of people talk about using um, a lot of people talk about using projects, but the thing about projects is that they're very vertical. Styles can just be injected horizontally, and that follows a developer concept of horizontal composition. What we see here, all this is saying is deliver expert React development guidance with technical precision, pragmatic approach, and structured methodology. That's it.
Okay. That's all. That's all you have in there.
That's it. That's what,
Wow.
13 words?
Wow.
You can get really far if you just know the right words to use.
That's right.
And
How do you get
so
to that? How do you get to knowing kind of the right words? Do you use maybe something like another AI tool to kind of figure out what that phrase looks like, or is it just constant repetition, constant shipping that gets you there?
I think the way is you just ship it. And the thing is that, you know, a businesses fundamentally do four things. They right, you're attracting leads in, you're figuring out how do I get people in the door. Then number two, you have to say, all right, people are in the store. How do I get them to buy something? A lot of businesses only focus on one and two, and then they focus on number four much more than they should. I'll get to number four in a second. But number three is where people don't focus at all. And this is where everything kind of goes haywire. Number three is you have to deliver the thing. But if you're too busy designing, you're too busy being like, no, I have to get this API connection in. Oh, this has to happen. You're missing out on building the core thing that you need to succeed, which is your ability to deliver software, to deliver it to confuse people. I'll tell you a short story. So I
Okay.
have a Masi, which means my mother's sister. She lives in Bombay. In Bombay, it's in Maharashtra in India. So the language of that state is Marathi. Most people around there speak Hindi because it's a financial hub. My Masi is from Gujarat. So now I just mentioned three different languages. And the reason why I said that was that ultimately the trend we're seeing is hyper regionalized content. People want to see things that are really relevant to them. You can have an amazing platform, cool, but people are still going to be like, how do I use this? The main thing people want is people want things in their language, whether it's a nurse who is speaking medical language or whether it's my Masi who's speaking Gujarati. I made an app for her in Gujarati and then I showed it to my mom. First time I ever showed my mom an app, and then she clicked every single button in the app because it was just like it was natural for her to do it. She was like, "Oh, this is this," and on the phone she gets the link and she's like, she just wouldn't stop talking. I love my mom, but she normally doesn't do that. If I was to show her something, she'd be like, "Cool." I gave her an app in her language, and then she was like, "This is what this means. Oh, this is what this means. Oh, this is," and over and over and over because I put it in her language. So the skill you want to develop is deliver software, deploy software. Do it for the people in your neighborhood, do it for the people who live on the soil you're from. Don't think about how you like, oh my God, like there's no real estate directory in Chile and the Google Trends is saying that this is really gonna pop and I'm gonna focus on. Have you been to Chile? No. Then stop. How long is it going to take you to get something out there? Have you ever shipped anything? Probably not. If you've never shipped anything, ship something for people that you see at least 7 times a week. Give it to them. And then you're going to find out the thing, which is even though you like, I know, everyone's parents, when they get older, has some type of health issue. The body itself is the disease. I can tell my mom till kingdom come what to do for her health. It doesn't matter. The second that I put it in her language and I use something that is from her existing knowledge base, something she already knows, and then I give her these varying motivation factors of curiosity, giving her a sense of self-efficacy, making her feel like she won something, and varying those three things and doing that across a whole UX and then delivering that over and over and over again, that's what happens. And so now my applications, I make applications which are AI agents that are the same way that Plaid is a wrapper around a consumer bank. I'm doing something that's a wrapper around a particular part of an investment bank. I have countless healthcare CEOs that are like, hey, we have this one main thing. It's causing this much da da da. I can just ship all these things, but then I can ship things for my mom, for my sister. I even for the temple where I live, the Hanumanji temple. Yesterday was able to show them a deployed app for the Hanuman Chalisa, the song they sing every day. And everyone at the temple was so excited. They were like, oh my God. And then I had a list of feature requests coming in for today. Oh, could you do this? Could you cast it onto the TV? Hey, actually, because I'm over the age of 50, reading something on the phone is too hard. Cast it to the TV because that's where I want to see text. The person who's above 50, they're thinking more like, oh, I only want to see pictures. And now I know the critical design decisions to make so that when the stakes are higher, when I'm getting paid for a project, I deliver things faster than anyone has. A friend hired me recently. He has a venture back company. He needed to ship something. He called an agency. They were like, "Hey, it's going to take maybe 3 to 6 months, and we'll charge you 100 grand for the first 3 months." He then called me. He was like, "Hey, how quickly can you get something up?" We pair programmed twice. We had something ready. He demoed it at a conference. He had $500,000 of sales pipeline going into Christmas. And now he has about 7 deals closing, and we're not even 2 weeks into the calendar year. And these are 5 to 6 figure deals. Just ship it.
Mind
The
blowing.
answer is always in the work that you're avoiding.
Wise words. And I can't wait to hear more of those words in the next episodes. And we're gonna cross into where that comes from, where that knowledge base comes from for you as well, right? You've talked to me about it, but I won't reveal it yet. So that'll be something you guys are gonna see in the next episodes. So like, subscribe, comment to this video, and you got that magic React Pro guide. You got that. Take a screenshot of it, take it away, and start using it, right? Take that screenshot, put it into Claude, and ask it to repeat that. So this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you, Jay. And it's been a wonderful having you guys listen in on. Stay tuned for episode 2. We are doing this frequently. Like, we are shipping this podcast. This is only episode 1. We are shipping this. Any last words, Jay?
Uh, I'll say it again. The answer is always in the work you're avoiding. Make an inventory of what you're avoiding, and then what can you ship today? What can you ship in
Okay.
5 minutes? What can you
Okay.
do? Take action. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you all.